Hello and welcome to this introductory video, which is all about getting started with TYPO3 CMS. If you're new to TYPO3, or perhaps you haven't used it in some time, this short video is the ideal place to get started. To begin, we're going to discuss the back end and front end of a TYPO3 installation and introduce some TYPO3 concepts. Then, we'll look at how we log into our TYPO3 installation. Once we're in, we'll take a brief tour of the back end and highlight some of the more common tasks you're likely to perform when logging in for the first time. Then it's all about pages and content, where we'll look at how we manage files and images using the Filelist module, followed by an introduction to the page tree, where we'll create a page and add some basic content as an example. So let us begin by talking about the front end and back end of a TYPO3 site. The back end's main role is to enable users to create and publish both pages and content for visitors to access. The backend is also used to manage our TYPO3 installation. Domains, languages, and other information that determine how our site behaves is also managed in the backend. Tasks such as creating forms, adding backend users, and managing third-party extensions also take place in the backend. Depending on what access you've been granted determines what you can see and what you can do in the backend. The front end combines the content we create in the backend with our installation's HTML templates to generate web pages. To achieve this, TYPO3 uses the Fluid Templating Engine, which acts as the glue between our user-generated content and our design templates. To manage and store our design templates, we use something called site packages. Think of a site package as a standalone container that we can use to store our HTML templates, our CSS and JavaScript files, as well as other assets such as fonts and images. Now, before we begin adding our pages and content, we first need to log into TYPO3's backend. The default entry point for TYPO3's backend is your site's domain followed by /typo3. With newer versions of TYPO3, it is also possible to change your entry point from /typo3 to pretty much anything you'd like. However, for today's example, I'm using a default installation with the entry point of /typo3. Also note that TYPO3 supports multi-factor authentication. If this feature is enabled for your installation, you may also need to input your authentication token to gain access to the backend. So this is TYPO3's backend, and before we continue, it's worth pointing out that I currently have full administrator privileges for my account. This means I have access to every feature and every setting available to me in the backend. The backend of your site may differ depending on what permissions you've been granted. Let's start with the top right-hand corner, and we call this area the top bar. From here, I can do a number of things, but today we're just going to focus on two. From the top bar, I'm able to access my own user profile, and from here, I can change a number of things, all of which are related to my own account, such as my personal details and avatar. I can also change the language of the backend for my user profile. For my site, I've got multiple languages installed, and I can switch to any of these if I want to. And don't forget, if you wish to change your password, you can do so in the User Settings module as well. Next, we have the all-new backend search feature, which we can use to search for a number of different items, including pages and content. Next, we have the module menu on the left-hand side. In this video, we're only going to focus on two items in the menu, Page module and File list. Let's start with the File list module. The File list module is what we use to store and manage files and other resources, such as images and videos for our TYPO3 site. In my example, I have two file mounts set up, one for storing documents and another for images. Let's take a closer look at the images file mount. Right now, I have three separate folders, each used to store different types of images. The first thing I want to do is create a subfolder, and to do that, I open my parent folder and then select the Create New icon and give the folder a name. And to upload a file, in my case an image, I either use the Upload Files button, or I can simply drag the file from my local machine into the folder. I can also move existing files into my new directory by using the cut and paste commands. Let's move on to what is probably the most important part of the backend, the page module. And this is where you'll spend most of your time when you're working with TYPO3. The first thing you'll notice when you load the page module is the page tree. The page tree is a hierarchical list of all the pages in our site. The page tree also serves as a sort of container for items, such as news stories, blog posts, and in my case, I have a specific folder for front-end users. Notice that I have 5 pages at the top level of my site: About, Service, Contact, Meet the Team, and Customer Login. And when I view my site in the front end, we see the same 5 pages in the same order. And that's because our main menu is set up by default to match the structure of our page tree. If I return to the back end and simply drag a page to a different location and then refresh my front end, the structure updates automatically for us. Next, what I'd like to do is create a new page and then add some basic content to it. To create a new page in the page tree, I simply drag the Create New icon and place the icon in the page tree where I want it to exist. It's automatically disabled in the front end by default. It's a brand new page with no content after all. We don't need it to be visible yet. Now it's time to add some content to my page. And in my example, it's just a block of text with an image. Now, content can be a number of things. It could be a block of text, it could be an image, or it could be a form. And each of these different types of content exist as content elements in TYPO3. And if I want to add some text and images to my new page, I need to use the appropriate content element for that task. Let's select the Create New Content button, and straight away we're presented with a range of different things we can add to our page. Now, depending on how your TYPO3 installation is set up, you may see more or you may see less content elements than I do. But I'm going to select the text option on the left-hand side, and I'm then presented with a list of content elements related to text. And I'm going to select the Text and Images content element. Next, I'm going to add a header for my block of text. And then I'm going to paste in a few paragraphs. Then I'm going to hit Save. Next, I'm going to add an image. And to do that, I'm going to select the Images tab. Then I'm going to select Add Image. And there's a great photo that I want to use that's stored in the Stock Images directory. So let's go ahead and select that. Once I've chosen my image, I'm going to position it next to my text block. My project page is now ready for the world to see, so I'm going to enable it. So we now have a new page in our page tree, and we've added some text and images to our new page. And that's it for this video. For more information on how to get started with TYPO3, head over to docs.typo3.org. To download TYPO3 and start using it, head over to get.typo3.org. To meet the community and ask for support, you can find us on the official TYPO3 Slack channel. And for everything else, including news, events, and information on how you can contribute to TYPO3, head over to typo3.org.